every year we come to this affair to honor the people who have been the premier players in the sport and the people who have brought a lot of honor and victory and notable visibility to the sport. And occasionally we have a circumstance like yesterday that reminds us that it's also quite a dangerous sport that we play. My hope is for the rest of the evening tonight, we can celebrate those horses and athletes and people who contribute to the sport so that we can fulfill the mission of the museum, which is to honor the history, the traditions, and the sport itself, and those who have made the sport and made outstanding contributions to it. So my hope is tonight that we all can see the good in the sport and we can enjoy it, and we keep Donovan in our hearts. The next thing I'd like to do, I'd like to recognize there are a number of Hall of Fame and Eaglehart Award winners here. And if those of you are here, especially as I call your name, if you can stand up or hold up your hand. Red Armor, Mike Azzaro, Julian Hipwood, I was prompted to say it this way, but Steve Wertheim is here, and I've heard that Peter For those of you that know Steve and Peter, Pete's been waiting to stand up and take credit for Steve all of his life, so this gives him a good spot for that. Charles Smith, Adam Snow, Eaglehart Award winners Tony Coppola, Kim Gannon, and Paul Von Gontard. Now, I have a little bit of a special announcement tonight. It didn't occur to me until about a month ago that this is actually the 20th birthday for the museum in this location. And so we opened here in 1997, and it's the 28th year for this induction ceremony. So the Hall of Fame has existed since before the building was here. And one of the things that occurred to me was I got working with people in the museum 20 years ago, and I realized that there were a couple people who donate their time year after year after year to make both the museum and these events so well, one, photographed, and secondly, that we get our Horses to Remember done. And I want to give a round of applause to both Alex Pacheco and Melinda Brewer, who give of themselves to the museum. Another thing, if you were in the gallery tonight, you saw that we have a special display. Our board member, Horace LaFay, and his wife, Martha, donated a lot of their artwork to the museum, loaned a lot of their artwork to the museum. Sorry, Horace, I didn't mean that. And it's the first time we've had an exhibit like this, and I want to thank Horace especially for his generosity in doing that for the museum. You probably noticed on your chair there's a little black bag that has a book in it. The book is Melinda's artwork, and we did a collaboration with her as sort of a birthday present to all of you who came to the event tonight. And if you've never had some of Melinda's work in your home, she does extraordinary representation of the equine athletes in the sport. And so Melinda wanted to help give a gift to everyone, and she has told me that she's willing to sign the book at the end of the evening in exchange for a $50 donation to the museum. Melinda, I love it. Thank you. I have two last orders of business. One is, every year we're fortunate to have this event happen because a lot of people donate and sponsor to the museum. And so I want to thank, in addition to Melinda Brewer and Alex for their donations of time and photos and artwork, Michelle McFall and Coravin Wine Systems for the sponsor and inductee gifts. For the wine and spirits, I'd like to thank Margaret Lippman, Orthwine, Lippman Brothers, Brown Forman, Bacardi, Corbel, Tito's Vodka, and a welcoming and new sponsor, 14 Hands. Wayne and Pamela Garrison, who sponsor the entertainment. Annabelle Gundlach and Postage Stamp Farm Foundation is our dessert sponsor. Frederick Roy in the Morning Line, Crystal Zaski Photography, Melissa Gansey and Robert Potamkin for the traveling exhibit, and volunteers Maria Fiola, Crystal and Eric Monahan, Natasha Redding, and Paul DuPont for their help and support. And once again, thanks to our sponsors and the general chairman of the dinner, Mark and Melissa Gansey. It's now time to start the formal part of our presentations tonight. And I'm reminded as I was having dinner tonight that I usually take credit on behalf of the museum and its board of directors for having the only museum for the sport of polo in the world. And I checked, and no one can seem to find one that's sprouted up since last year. So congratulations to the board and to the founders who put this in place, because we really have a tremendous thing here in the United States for the sport of polo. I'm Marty Craig, and I'm the chairman of the museum, and I'm going to go through the inductees tonight in order that they're in your program. The first inductees that we do are the horses to remember. And our first recipient tonight is an outstanding pony from the annals of the sport, and it's a horse that was called Chicken. Chicken was a bay mare bred in Virginia of unknown parentage, but don't be fooled by the plain name and inauspicious beginning. Chicken made a name for herself. She was one of the most celebrated ponies of her era. Discovered in the Remount Depot at Fort Royal by Colonel Walter C. Short, she went on to have a long and honorable career as a polo mount in many hard-fought campaigns of the Army polo matches. As part of the fine string of ponies at Fort Bliss, she won the Medal of the Horse Association of America presented to the best playing pony in each club in 1925 and 1927. Then, having proven herself over many years as a true war horse, she earned her place playing again for her country, selected to play in the 1927 International Series under Hall of Famer Malcolm Stevenson, and helped make polo history. This gallant mare, though now aged, played with heart, tenacity, and courage. At the conclusion of the matches, she was selected from among a huge field of superstars to be awarded the coveted Prince Friarstown Cup, given to the best mare playing in the tournament suitable to produce a polo pony, the highest award achievement of that era. Accepting tonight for Chicken is the nominating committee chairman, Dr. Horace LaFay.
All right. I did it too soon. You can do your speech. Your speech already. Oh, okay.
Thank you. I hasten to add that the only reason I received this beautiful bronze is because I happen to be the chairman of the nominating committee. So it's not going to be a part of my collection. Certainly will stay in this museum under the supervision of George and Brenda until we find somebody who's related to somebody who wrote Chicken. So that is the decision that has to be done until we find them. Only 2 or 3 years ago, we had the same situation in which we couldn't find anybody to receive the award. And lo and behold, 48 hours after the induction, a granddaughter of the player up here in the museum. She lived in Jupiter. So we're hoping that somebody related to chicken will come up within the few days.
The next horse is Nebraska Sunset. Charles Smith's great multi-award winning mare, Nebraska Sunset, was purchased as a 3-year-old from the Norman family in Crawford, Nebraska, and trained by Charles's father, the great Hall of Famer and renowned horseman Cecil Smith. The 15-2 Chestnut Thoroughbred mare was played by Charles for the next decade, and dependable as she was, she never failed him. As a crowning achievement in her notable career, she was the winner of the Hartman Award for Best Playing Pony of the U.S. Open in 1980. Charles also played the mare 2 periods in the 1979 and 1980 Cup of the Americas games. He is probably the best all-around horse I ever owned, Charles was to explain. She had the best combination of speed and agility, very easy, and anyone could play her from a beginner to a pro. I can gamble on her, take chances, because she can always get me back into a play. Nebraska Sunset is remembered by many of the great Hall of Famers and horsemen like Tommy Wayman as one of the top-notch ponies of her time. Charles Smith is here tonight to accept the award for Nebraska Sunset.
Thank you. Just a small correction. We bought Nebraska Sunset when she was 5. And the Norman family in Nebraska, my dad and I bought a lot of horses from both Bernard and his brother Tom. Nebraska Sunset was raised by Bernard Norman, and then he raced her. She won a couple races. Then he brought her back to the ranch, and they rode her after cattle. So a great foundation to go into polo. When I learned that we were going to put Nebraska Sunset into the hall, I contacted Bernard Norman's daughter. Bernard Norman is no longer with us, but I talked to the daughter, and I said, "Do you remember the mare Nebraska Sunset?" And this was like in 1977. And she said, "Of course I do. That was the favorite horse that I ever had. In fact, I begged my dad not to sell her when you guys were there." And of course, you know how that turned out since her father was a horse dealer. But the mare was a fantastic mare, and as said, she really took to polo easily with that foundation. And we bought her in 1977, and in 1979, 2 years later, I played her in the Cup of the Americas in Argentina against the famous 40 gold team of the 2 Harriets and 2 Aggies. And she was every bit as good as the other horses on the field, and she compared well with the great horses that team, the Argentine team, was on. And then came back the next year and played her in the Open, and she was best horse in the Open, and we didn't win it, so she must have been pretty good. But thank the committee, and I thank the Hall of Fame. I think the mare really deserves that. I have played, I think, 4 other horses that are in the Horses to Remember, and she's every bit as good as any of those other 4 that I've played. So I think it's well deserved. Thank you all very much.
Our next inductees are for the Eichelhart Award. The Hall of Fame's Philip Eichelhart Award began in 2001 and is given to acknowledge exceptional lifetime contributions to the sport of polo. The posthumous inductee for 2016 is George Miller. To say that George Miller had a prolific impact on polo in Texas may be an understatement. As many recall it, he was a man who more than anyone else could be credited with building the foundation of polo there in the early part of the 20th century. The founder of Austin Polo Club and owner of Miller Field in San Antonio, he was wise in the way of horses, respected for his horsemanship, and helped give credence to the value of the Western cow pony as a polo mount. Offering expertise, wisdom, and opportunities along with a no-nonsense work ethic, he launched the polo careers of top players like Cecil Smith and Rube Williams, as well as countless others, a huge factor in helping to put both Texan players and Texas horses on the map. The horse-savvy sage also patented a hackamore and a bit known as the Miller gag, which became favorite training tools for the top players. A sign he hung over the entrance of his Miller Field may have summed up his devotion to the sport. It said, "I don't want nothing but a good polo pony." Tonight, Charles Smith is going to come to accept the award on the behalf of the family of George Miller.
Hello again. We've not been able to locate any descendants of George Miller. We'll keep trying. In the meantime, Brenda asked me to accept the award for him, and I'm proud to do that. I think many of you probably don't have a clue who George Miller was, but I'm going to tell you just a little bit about how he got started and what he's done in polo. George Miller opened a livery stable in Austin, Texas in 1894, and that was one of 8 livery stables in Austin at that time, which is evidence of the importance of the horses to the area at that time. Then in the early 1910s, he started in polo, and he started training horses and selling horses and got more and more into polo. By the early 1920s, there was only one livery stable left in Austin, and that was George Miller's. And I think that was, you're starting to see the transition from horsepower to engine power. But he did start, he recruited Rube Williams, who became a well-known 8-goal player in the United States. He also started my dad, Cecil Smith, into polo in 1924. They were in Austin for some time, and then he moved to San Antonio, and they started what became known as Miller Field, which is an iconic name in Texas and in terms of a training facility for polo. The reason why he went to San Antonio was because the Army was there at Fort Sam Houston, and there were 15 teams in the Army at that time. So he could go down there, and he and his guys could play horses, could play all day long, every day. And he built up to where he was buying about 80 horses a year throughout Central Texas. And he was taking those 80 horses, and they were training them, and they were shipping them all over the country in the 20s and the 30s. He shipped horses to California, to Florida, to Long Island, to New Jersey, to Detroit. He had a very large operation, and it was said at that time that probably 20% of the horses played in the significant polo in the United States came out of the George Miller operation. So he was a consummate horseman. My dad always said that he learned more from George Miller about a horse than from anyone else. And he also said that George Miller knew more about horses than anyone he ever knew. So I think really, as referenced earlier, what really kind of says George Miller's life with horses is that sign. And I remember that sign as a kid, when we drive into Miller Field, and it said, "I don't want nothing but a good polo pony," and that was exactly him. There were all kinds of players that came through San Antonio and trade horses at Miller Field. The Barrys, Harold Barry, Bill Barry, Roy Barry, Ray Harrington, and on with players. Many players are in the Hall of Fame, spent their winters training horses there. And I think it's just very fitting that we put someone in as an Eichelhart Award who was really on the horse side of polo and a horse trainer. And I think George epitomized being able to train and sell and provide to the sport through the horse. So thank you very much, and I appreciate from the nominating committee and we'll try to locate someone that's a relative of George's, and if we can't, we'll do like Horace, and we'll display this in the museum. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Lev Miller. Leverett Miller's legacy is born of his extraordinary vision and unwavering effort to help build the Museum of Polo, the only museum in the world. One of the original founders of the museum, he took the reins when Chairman Philip Eichelhardt passed. Lev was a steady force driving the construction of the museum, putting up money, time, and endless energy, and he challenged others to do the same. In 1997, this magnificent monument to Polo was completed and proudly serves as a home to the art treasures and historic content celebrating our sport. The dream became a reality. Part of the Whitney family Polo dynasty, Lev has donated and facilitated many of the museum's invaluable art treasures. He was a board member, and Hall of Famer Jack Oxley may have summed it up best when he said that Lev grabbed that ball and ran it in for a touchdown. I'd like to have Lev Miller come up and accept his award.
Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you to the Hall of Fame nominating committee, the board of directors, and all those who support this great museum. It is a great honor that I share with many others, not the least of which are my patient, understanding family. My wife, Linda, my daughters, Maria Flora, Whitney, and Penelope, who are here with us tonight. 39 years ago, in 1979, as Marty pointed out, four of us, Philip Eichelhardt, who was my mentor at that point, George Sherman, Jeremy Chisholm, and I, had lunch to discuss the idea of creating a museum and Hall of Fame for the game we all love and consider the best of all games we have ever played. We knew that it could be difficult and somewhat controversial, but we never dreamed that it would take 19 years to come to fruition. By that time, I was the only one of the four still alive, and therefore had become the chairman. But there were so many who contributed so much to making this place a reality and deserve to share this honor. As we all know, Philip Eichelhardt and Linda Basad spearheaded the start and devoted enormous time and resources. Shortly, we were joined by George DuPont and Brenda Lynn, Dave Chase, and Marty Craig, without whom we never would have made it. Huge support came from Jory Kent, Jack Oxley, Ski Johnston, Carlton Beal, Bill Sinclair, Jimmy Mills, Steve Orthwine, Mrs. Tommy Hitchcock, CV and Mary Lou Whitney, and as an aside to that, Mary Lou and Linda and I are the breeders of the great Argentine polo stallion River Slaney. And later, John Hendrickson, and let's not forget the Knox family who gave us the first contribution. I am sure I've forgotten others, and for that I apologize. In 1988, even after 9 years, Linda Basad wrote to us, "We have had some advice from others, but have not been able to enlist anyone to help on an active day-to-day basis." George and Brenda filled that void with amazing energy and dedication. At that point, however, Jim Binger had given us an income-producing polo field leased to the Gulfstream Polo Club. And we only had a grand total of $30,000, $7,000 of which was cash. Not a promising start. As it was pointed out to the board that our goal was to raise $2 million to construct the building and to create an endowment. On the plus side, we were accumulating memorabilia, books, trophies, tack, and equipment, all of which has made the exhibits historic and interesting and contribute to what we see tonight in this very good museum. By 1993, we had finally raised $1 million for the building and $340,000 for the endowment. We were on our way. With the first Hall of Fame ceremony at Club Colette in Palm Beach in 1990, we started the process which continues tonight. Everyone here and in the past who has bought a seat, bought an item, or made a donation over the years has built this wonderful institution. We thank you and commend your good judgment. In closing, I am so honored for this recognition and would put forward one wish for the museum. In the original design, it was projected to have a life-size statue at the front entrance of one of America's greatest 20th century polo players, Tommy Hitchcock, on his Hall of Fame horse, Tobiana. We did not have the funds for this, but the space is still there. And perhaps in the future, someone or a group might donate a statue of a great American 10-goal player to fill that void. Ever hopeful and always pushing a project, I thank you so much.
Thank you, Lev. I'm quite sure none of us would be in this tent tonight if it wasn't for the work that Lev led. Now we move on to our last two awards of the night, the inductees into the Hall of Fame. Any person shall be eligible for election to the Polo Hall of Fame who has contributed to the game in an extraordinary and honorable manner, whether by dedication to the sport or by ability and record as a player. Tonight, we induct John Jackie Murphy. Jackie's stature as a polo star may be eclipsed by his alter ego, a man remembered as honest and uncomplicated, low-key and likable. Dynamic on the field, the seven-goaler possessed skill that drove him to win the most important tournaments of the 60s, including 4 consecutive U.S. Opens, 3 Silver Cups, 2 Butler handicaps, and he played on the USA's 30-goal team in Argentina all before the age of 30. He learned to play polo as a youngster in Chicago and went on to play and work for Cecil Smith and Paul Butler at Oak Brook. The relationship lasted 13 years as he became one of the finest horsemen and players in the country while also managing the club. Murphy continued to compile an enviable record in polo until his untimely death at age 37, when polo lost one of its beloved players and friends. Here to accept the award are his sons, Jack and Brian Murphy.
Unfortunately, our mother was unable to make it here tonight, but she did ask me to read this to you all. Good evening, polo patrons, players, and fans of polo who are gathered here tonight. Our family would like to thank the Board of Directors and the nominating committee of the Museum of the Polo and Hall of Fame for selecting our father to receive this award. I'm Jack Murphy, Jackie Murphy's oldest son. We happily accept the honor of Jackie Murphy's induction into the Polo Hall of Fame. My mother Helen, my brother Brian, and I appreciate that he is being recognized for his accomplishments as a fine horseman and polo player, as well as for his personality that has been well remembered. Jackie had the distinction of being on teams with some of the greatest players of that time. He had an appreciation for those he worked for and worked with, and for his many team members, which resulted in friendships from those relationships. Friends as well as family were so important to him. Horses came into his life at an early age due to his father, Tim Murphy, a traditional Irish horseman who was employed as the pole stable manager at Healy Farms near Oak Brook, Illinois. By age 15, Jack had already participated on polo teams and playing at the Chicago Indoor Armory on Saturday nights. He was pictured in Life magazine in 1953. One of the most memorable times for him was in 1966 when he was a member of the United States 30 Gold World Cup team in Argentina. Because of an existing injury, he had to play with a brace on his right leg. I think it was with the musical chairs and the split reins. I think Charles might be able to verify that. Although Jack's very first love was a beautiful German Shepherd dog named Princess, his close second love was a polo pony named Grey Dawn that he met up with at Healy Farms. And that love was the start of his polo life and career as a player and polo pony trainer. Growing up with 4 brothers encouraged his competitive spirit, and having one little sister led to his tenderness. Jackie's competitiveness and determination enabled him to overcome being naturally left-handed in the right-handed polo world and then reaching a 7-goal rating. Our dad truly loved horses and the beautiful sport of polo. We, his family, are grateful that he is being so honored here today. Thank you, and I think my brother would like to say a couple words.
I'm Brian. I'm Jackie Murphy's youngest son. I got to know him for just a short time. I was 10 years old when he passed away. But I do have a lot of good memories of him, and I remember him as a good dad. I know I'll never understand how great of a polo player he was, or how great of a horseman he was. I'll never understand that. But there is one thing I know about my dad with absolute certainty. It's that the people who knew my dad loved him. And thank you. And I've seen firsthand how much he was loved by the people who knew him. I've seen it in the way that people came to my family after he died, the way they cared about us. I remember Cobby Yarrington, who gave my brother and me our first jobs and gave my brother his first car. And I remember the Taylor family who had us stay at their farm outside of Memphis for summers. And I remember the Healys and Donnie Healy in Chicago. And I remember Jerry Ackerman in San Antonio, who had... And I remember Jerry Ackerman in San Antonio, who had me come out to his ranch and ride green horses with him. And I remember Joe and Sharon Berry in San Antonio and Jack Goodman in Tucson, and there were so many others that I haven't named. Everywhere I've traveled, I've met people who knew my dad, and they would tell me great things about my dad. Some of you gave us advice. Some of you gave us comfort. Some of you gave us opportunities. All of you gave us kindness and friendship. And I know those of you who helped me out in so many ways. And I know it wasn't because of who I was or what I could do. I know it's because you love my dad and you wanted to do something special for his family. And that speaks volumes for the kind of man that my dad was. It also speaks volumes about the kind of people who are in the polo community. Thank you, and thank you for honoring my dad, Jackie Murphy, by inducting him into the Polo Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Jack and Brian. We have one award left to give out tonight. It's perhaps somebody you've heard of before. Mariano Aguirre. Mariano Aguirre made his indelible mark arriving here as a promising youngster of 18 and soaring to an illustrious career, continuing with the American Polo. Most notably is the mainstay of the famed White Birch team. It's said that polo truly runs through his veins, inherited as part of a long family tradition. He is dedicated to his horses, his team, and his family, and his team White Birch is his extended family for sure. Aguirre went on to capture the most prestigious tournaments in this country, including among them the US Open twice, 8 Gold Cup wins, and an incredible array of international laurels, as well as establishing himself as the breeder of some of the most outstanding ponies of the game. Mariano also aspires to give back to the sport he loves and has been cited as an enormous help in mentoring aspiring young players around the country. Mariano, come up, and get your award.
Yes.
Ooh.
Hand it to me, I'll get it. Clean up in aisle 6. There you go. Stay right in the middle.
That's exactly how we planned it. First of all, I would like to start not the way I wanted this speech tonight. I really want to ask for a moment of silence for the whole Stratman family and whole Orchard Hill organization, because this terrible thing that happens and it touched the entire world of polo. So to Chris and his family. Thank you. When it comes down to speeches, I wish I was chicken tonight. Chicken is here and he didn't have to give a speech. So. Oh, man. Tonight, you guys need to know, I'm pushing my English to the limit. So, I'm gonna try to make my English let you know how honored, overwhelmed, and how proud I am at this moment to receive this, which is to me, and Peter Brandt said it to me when he knew I was inducted. You know, this is one of the greatest achievements of your career. So I need to find a way to transmit this to you guys tonight. I see so many people tonight I would like to thank. I'd like to thank Fer and Sophie, they came from Argentina for this tonight. I'd like to thank Ashley and Mike, Lefty for being there. Larry, thank you so much. Clams, thanks for being here tonight. And the all Postage Stamp Farm crew. We almost made it to the final. The other day, one call too short. But anyways, this is funny because I'm here by myself talking to you guys, and actually I didn't make it here by myself. I wish they were here so many people receiving this trophy with me. My father, I wish he was here tonight because he told me two things that none of the people, I don't care how good you are with the ball and stuff, but he told me two things that to me are very important. They are crucial to make it here, and which is the love of the game and the passion for the horses, and my father told me that. I wish my mom was here also, standing right next to me, receiving this award, because the way she sees it and the way she told me things, it was like dreams are out there, but they don't come to you. You have to go and hunt them. You have to go and chase your dreams. And she says to me, the good things about dreams, they don't have great stamina. We know what stamina is, right? We're Polo people, we know it. They don't have great stamina. So there are many dreams out there. But if you focus in one of them and you chase them and you're persistent and you're constant about it, eventually you're gonna grab that dream and gonna make it your own, you're gonna accomplish it, and you're gonna make the dream come true. I also wish that my brothers were here, Martin and Juan, because when things didn't go right in the family, and it didn't go right in the family at some point, they built a nest. I'm the youngest brother. They built a nest and they put me there and said, you grow up sound and healthy mentally and physically. We're gonna protect you no matter what. And you go ahead and become whatever you have to become, that we have your back. I also wish that my dear friend Gonzalo Pires was here, because he was the guy that grabbed my hand and led me into Polo and opened every door that there is to be open for me to accomplish what I'm accomplishing tonight. I wish he was here. Also, when I grow old, when I grow older, if someone comes to me and says, listen, Mariano, you changed my life, then I'll consider to be my life a successful one. Well, Peter Rand, by my standards, you should consider to have a successful life because you changed my life. You at the entire White Birch organization were the tracks where my train runs to. And I can assure her, and I'm gonna make it this public, just in case someone doesn't know, I wouldn't be here without you and White Birch. So thank you so much. And you see me? You see me? Yeah. I wish one thing, that next year we trade places. I want to be there in that chair listening to you giving a speech. You certainly earn it. Nyaka and Eli, I thank you so much because you guys devoted your life to me, and that's why I'm performing the way I am. You guys made this possible too. Thank you so much. Beto Imas, you're the main reason why I'm accepting this award and still competing. Thank you, brother. Naco Taberna, my dear friend, I wish he was here tonight because he's the soul of Los Machitos, and Los Machitos to me and Nick is something we're so proud of, but he's the soul, and someone needs to work. So he's in Argentina working for us. You know, Polo's given me so many things in so many ways. Am I taking too long? Polo is giving me so many things, so many ways. Like, I heard this in someone else accepting a Hall of Fame speech. It says, Polo is not what I do, it's what I am. But Polo is what I am. And it's given me so many things. But without a doubt, the best thing that Polo's ever given me is your friendship, Nick Manifold. Yes. We did this, brother. He puts up with me. He tells me that I have issues. I don't know what he's talking about. He told me I have issues. But he will discuss with me, argue with me, then he will jump to the deepest hole of the earth with me. And you're a brother to me. Thank you so much. Finally, I need to talk about my queen. Tati, thank you so much. You're my friend, you're my companion. And thank you for not accepting my mistakes. Thanks for always trying to make me want to be a better man. Thanks me because of those 4 beautiful children we have. Sophie, Lola, she gave me the haircut tonight. Antonio, and Carmen. So, I find out 2 things tonight. One, my English is great. And two, I find out that my mom did was right. Because after 30 years chasing a dream, I focused on that dream, I was persistent about it, I chased it down, I hunted, I made it my own, and a dream came true. I made it to the Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mariano, and congratulations. This concludes our awards presentation. I would like to thank all of our fantastic sponsors, Mark and Melissa Ganzi and Grand Champions for sponsoring the dinner, the dessert sponsor Annabelle Gundlach and Postage Stamp Farm Foundation, the entertainment sponsors Pamela and Wayne Garrison, and for the wine and spirits this evening, Margaret Lippman Worthwine and Lippman Brothers. I also want to thank George and Brenda, who have put on all of this event for years and years and made sure that it works. Alex Pacheco, Melinda Brewer, Frederick Roy, Crystal Zaski Photography. And I want to remind you one last thing. The little birthday present you all have at your chair, Melinda Brewer said that she would sign it for you if you would give $50 donation. Remember, this is a facility that doesn't get any income from the outside, and so we would appreciate if you would do a little work for Melinda, and that'll do a little work for the museum. For the rest of the evening, enjoy the band, Los Alos, and have a good evening, and thank you for coming.